50% of what an actual A-level and prelim paper could be like. If anything, this is the definition of edging.
This is YIJC. Definitely relevant. But is it special? Sometimes all you need is a regular practice. And this paper fulfills that. Final Y in today's episode of PPR. Alright, welcome back to another video. This is Yao from Vantage Tutor, a class above the rest. And for today's Prelim Paper review, it is a JC2 WA1 special. And it's from 2026 Yishun Innova Junior College, H2 Math, JC2 WA1. Now before I begin, these are the questions that I feel are insightful and probably worth your time to try. And if you would like to try this paper, you're invited to join my Telegram channel where I've uploaded a short summary along with the download link on my blog. Have a go at it, let me know how you did. And yes, I have started a tuition center. It's located near Boon Keng and SAJC. Regular classes are up and running and the full schedule can be found on my website. So what are you waiting for? Link is in the bio, sign up today and I'll see you there. Firstly, this was one of the later WA1s that was taken this year. It was only shared with me recently and it was out of good news. My student did very well for this and she was very happy about it. And yet at the same time, she was a bit disappointed with some parts of her answers. And I think I know why. Most of these questions here are indeed relevant, but this paper could have gone a lot further, but it chose not to. Let me explain via my 3 matrices. Number 1 relevance, number 2 insightfulness, number 3 difficulty, before I give an overall score and recommend to you the type of student who should try this paper. And of course, if I had a student who had to sit for this paper under exam condition, what would be a fair expectation of him from me in order for her to score an A in her actual A levels? Firstly, relevance. This is the clear strength of this paper because this is precisely how I will group all these topics together for my revision as well. Everything here is concerning calculus, Maclaurin series, application of integration, differential equation. All of them is about differentiation and integration techniques. The only possible missing part is maybe integration by parts, which is what most schools would do as a raw technique question if not incorporated in area under a graph. And a common denominator that we have seen throughout all the schools who have tested application of integration is the modulus part. And this paper is no surprise as well. But where this paper falls short in terms of relevance is there doesn't seem to be a level of spice in this paper. There is a lack of an anchor question. There is a lack of a clear question that students should be spending most of their time on. Usually in this set of topics being tested, it's not surprising to find it under application integration or your differential equation. The application one is fine. It feels like a prelim standard question phrased in a different way, whereas the differential equation felt like they were restricted by the maximum number of marks. And therefore, in terms of comparing this to your prelim paper, it is basically the watered down version of it. But no doubt, I like the topics being grouped together. You'll see exactly how this paper can be used for a revision, and hence the relevance of this paper will be given a slightly above average 6.5 out of 10. Next, insightfulness. Like I said, this paper seems to be lacking the level of spice. It seems to be lacking that anchor question. But that is not to say there are no insights in this paper. But truth be told, very minimal. And the modulus question, at this point, if you have been watching my prelim paper review, especially for the WA1s, you have seen this 3 to 4 times already. But still, an important question to keep, an important question to be able to solve. But in terms of a unique learning point that you can take away from this paper, it's really not much apart from maybe question 1. And that is another theme of this paper. They could have set traps. They could have extended the question longer. They could have made the question more in-depth, but they chose not to. And this is the most apparent in differential equation, where they effectively stop at part 1 and part 2, didn't even ask you to draw the graph, didn't even ask you to extrapolate the model. And then if you look at Maclaurin series question, it's effectively a differentiation technique question. They didn't ask you to maybe find another series, they didn't ask you to use your Maclaurins over 1 plus x or 1 minus x and then combine with a binomial expansion. None of that. This paper feels like they took the prelim questions and then they only took 50 to 70% of the prelim question and then throw it to you. There is basically not much of a stretch in this paper, and that is clearly the weakness of this paper. But to say that you won't learn anything from this paper is unfair. The fact that each question is 50% of what you see in the prelims or your A levels shows that at least you are at the intermediate level, and hence the insightfulness of this paper will be given a slightly above average 6. out of 10. Difficulty. Not the most difficult paper, neither is it challenging. Again, I think I found the theme of this paper, which is it is 50% of a prelim paper. If you look at all the questions, a lot of them are just testing you on the key techniques of the question. That means if you have done your revision packages, you have done your tutorial questions, just by doing them over and over again, you probably can score most of the marks here. Because none of the questions here have a part 3 or part 4 where in an A-level context or in the prelim context, it requires a deeper level of thinking. And then maybe you argue, all these chapters about calculus, generally there could be careless mistakes because there's heavy use of algebra, heavy use of calculation. But in this paper, I really see a very strong effort to minimize that. And the clearest example of that is your Maclaurin series. If you look at other prelim papers, you have looked at revision packages. When have we ever given you y cubed equals to something? Most of the time, you'll be y equals to square root of something, and then you'll be asked to re-manipulate it first. And this question done it for you. For students who realize, great, you see it's convenient. For students who don't realize, you just differentiate it straight away, even better. You don't even need to be aware of the fact that this is the most convenient form to differentiate. And this is just one of the few examples that I've seen in this paper. They could have laid traps, but they chose not to. And hence the difficulty of this paper, definitely one of the most fair paper out there. 5 out of 10. Overall, a paper that could have been more. In short, 50% of a prelim paper. And I can see the clear strategy of the school. They are trying to build you up towards the prelim, they are trying to build you up towards the A-levels in a slightly different way. Most schools, they will give you a complete question where there will be part 1, 2, 3, 4. For example, in the differential equation, they will include a graph sketching, they will ask you what happens in a new model, but then they will ask it at a slightly lower level. This paper is, they take 50% of the question, and then for most of the questions, they are stretched to the 100%. But then ultimately, if you score 100% of this, in your actual prelim, in your actual A-level, it is only 50% of the marks. And maybe this is their way of progression, where only in the prelims, then you get to the part 3 and part 4, but at least we get 50%, which is the technical part of the paper done right, before we get you to think a bit more critically. And therefore, this is a great paper in terms of revision, but maybe not so much as a time practice, as an accurate gauge of what your prelim could be like, even though it is 50% of the prelim paper. And to be honest, a slight tinge of disappointment in me. If this was upon 40, I think this paper would have easily been one of the great papers that you can use. And hence, the overall score of this paper would be given also a slightly above average, 7 out of 10. And if I had a student who had to sit for this paper under exam condition, a fair expectation of her would be 80% in order for her to score an A in her actual A levels. Finally, who I recommend this paper to? I recommend this paper to every student to try as if it's part of their revision packages. Now, the weakness of this paper is it gets you to the intermediate level, but it's not complete, neither is it in-depth enough. But this kind of progression could be useful for you, especially for students who are not very good with their techniques yet, who are not very clear about the thought process about how to solve a questions like this. All these questions are very classic. They don't go beyond the classic for most of them. And therefore, by being able to do this paper under time condition and you get a respectable score, you can easily tell yourself that I have the competency to do the technical part. However, when it gets to the in-depth, the critical thinking, maybe that's where you have to look elsewhere. Maybe that's where you have to look at prelim papers that I have reviewed in the past. And hence, if you are a student who have just finished all these chapters and you're looking for revision for all this calculus chapter together under time condition, where your goal is to determine whether you're competent enough in terms of technicals of these topics, this paper will be perfect for you. Alright, so we have come to the end of this prelim paper review of 2026 Yishun Innova Junior College H2 Math JC2 WA1. Now, if you like what I'm doing, follow me on TikTok, like my video, comment, and share with your friends. I'm sure this will help them. And if you like a more in-depth analysis, you're invited to watch me on YouTube, where I upload other content to help you in your A-level journey. Because ultimately, I'm on my way to 10,000 followers. Nothing else. This is YIJC from Vantage Tutor, a class above the rest. Take care.